Shalom, this is a new Ben Israel at Hebrew on the Island 2. Today's video is called Perfect Example Showing That the Apocrypha is a False Book. Now I'm going to be the first to tell you, I like a lot of the writings in it. Now just because I like it doesn't mean that I believe it. It got some good, like, common sense writing in it. But as I told you in my conversion from Messianic Hebrew to Torah and Tanakh base only, that the I.S.U.P.K family, P-I-S-O, they created, the Roman aristocrats created the New Testament and the Apocrypha. Some people don't realize that, and the Apocrypha. And how they did it was they tried to make it similar to the Old Testament, the Tanakh, the Torah, which is the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, so it would be more acceptable, palatable for the Hebrews at that time for some of them to accept it. Now I'm only giving you one. There's many examples, and I'm going to read it first to you, and then we're going to discuss it. And it should put a red light, a flashing police light on top of your head or inside your mind to say, yeah, false prophecy equals false book. Let's get down to it. 2nd Ezra chapter 7. 2nd Ezra chapter 7. Turn to it if you have an Apocrypha, or look it up at how I did online. 2nd Ezra chapter 7. Let's scroll down to verse 28, okay, of Exodus, no, 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And we're going to start the reading from there. We're only going to have to read a couple verses. All right. Second Ezra. All right, let me bring it to you. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 28. It's not that clear, you know. I don't have the best Sony. I have the bottom in the line Sony, but I still love it anyway. I thank Higher. I thank Higher for giving me the opportunity to find this low-cost Sony camera, and I had great experiences with my old Sony, which I had like for 14 years, so I love this. Anyway, 2nd Ezra chapter 7, we're going to prove that the Apocrypha is a false book. Remember, you can't mix truth and lies together, because it just equals a lie. They can have a lot of good stuff, good common sense stuff, that you know, there's good examples on how to live, but they still got lies mixed in. And when you have truth and lies, you discard the whole thing. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, we're starting in verse 28. This is what it says. For my son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 29. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. Let me read that again. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. Verse 30 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgment, so that no man shall remain. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 31. And after 7 days the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. Verse 32 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. Okay, now we're going to be in verse 33. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long suffering shall have an end. All right, I'm going to end it right there. You can read 2nd Ezra chapter 7 in the Apocrypha for yourself. There's key things that you, hopefully it stood out to you. This is talking about the end of days, but it's mentioning the Messiah, Christ, Jesus, to the Christians and the Messianic Hebrews. They said Christ dies. Remember, they said Christ is only dying one time. And then in their doctrine, they say he's coming back, you know, as a warrior, going to kill everybody that's a lawbreaker and get the remnant. But here in 2nd Ezra chapter 7, it's talking about the end. And you know that's not in the New Testament. And you know that's not the narrative and storyline that they push. You know the Messiah, the so-called Messiah, Jesus Christ, when he died on that torture stake or cross, whatever they want to use, it says in 2nd Ezra 7, verse 29, it says, after these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. So, and then it says, and the world shall be turned into an old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgment, so that no man shall remain. So it says, when Mashiach, there Jesus Christ, dies, every person is going to die. There's not going to be no person remaining. Did that happen 2,000 years ago? No. Has that been the narrative? No. In the annals of history, in the Romans, they kept records. Like I.S.U.P.K says, they kept our records. They got our records. In the Catholic Church, they kept our... Well, there should be a report that everybody died, my Torah brothers and sisters. There's no record of that. Everybody on earth dying? And then coming back now? Where's that at? So as you can see, the errors, the flaws, and they're not like a little minor one, that's a major one. Everybody's dying. After these years shall my son Christ die. And you know, in that New Testament, he's only dying once. So if he's only dying once, and that happened 2,000 years ago, so-called, there's no record of every man, every person dying. So what, is he going to die at the end? And you know their narrative in that New Testament, he ain't dying again. So, Houston, we have a problem. Let me read it for you one more time, so, and then we'll close. I want it stuck in your head, so when anybody brings up the Apocrypha, just bring them right to this. 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And the book of Ezra is very famous amongst these ABC camps. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 verse 28. For my son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. Verse 29 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. So everybody should have died over 2,000 years ago. And then if they try to pull this escape route and try to say, oh, well, he's going to die again in the end, and then everybody... No, that's not the narrative. That's not found in the New Testament. Another lying book developed and created by the Piso family, which is the Roman aristocrats, because they did not like the idea of the Israelites, who are the captors, having anything over them. Back then, the Hebrew faith was becoming popular in the Roman Empire. They couldn't have that, so they had to make a New Testament to combat the Hebrews' Old Testament. So as you can see, after these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life, and the world shall be turned into old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgment, so that no man shall remain. Where is that recorded at in the New Testament? Where is that in the narrative that you heard and I've heard for years of the Messiah dying once for all and all that? Well, if he died 2,000 years ago, where's the record of every man dying on the flat earth? Nail in the coffin of the Apocrypha. Hopefully this was edifying to my Torah brothers and sisters. Until next time, Shalom. Haya, 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 haya. And that's the name of the Most High. Some people say Hawa. You know, I am in Exodus translates to Haya. Maybe in the modern Hebrew, you know, the Most High, you know, I'd rather say a different language than that tricky English language. And the Most High understands all things. So, until next time, Shalom.